So now I'd like to introduce our speaker, our fine figure of a man, Damon Poole. Damon Poole is the chief agilist at a licensed group practice. His 24 years of experience spans the small co-located team all the way up to global development organizations with hundreds of teams. Damon is a past president and vice president of Agile New England. He writes frequently on the topic of Agile development. He's the author of the webbook Do It Yourself Agile, and a pioneer in the area of multi-stage continuous integration and mixing Scrum and Kanban. Damon has spoken at numerous conferences, including Agile and Beyond from 2010 to 2012, Agile DC from 2012 to 2013, QCon, the Big Agile Conference from 2008 to 2013, and Agile Development Practices. Trained thousands of people in Agile techniques, and he's also a founder and past CTO of AccuRev, where he created multiple Jolt award-winning products, including AccuRev and AccuWorkflow. So, without further ado, let's have a fine Agile Boston welcome.
I think the last time I was speaking to this audience was something about chocolate and peanut butter. Somebody remember chocolate and peanut butter? You weren't there, Dennis. All right. So, unfortunately, I like to walk around a lot, but interesting thing, surprise, you guys are going to do most of the work. So one of the things about Agile coaching techniques is that to learn them, you have to do them. So, I don't know, I'm going to self-organize you guys, I guess. It's kind of like drawing Yeah, that's what you do when you become a coach. So, we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll use some tables, or maybe you'll just like turn to each other or something, or maybe you'll just ignore me. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So, 5 Agile coaching techniques. So one of the things that I realized doing this a lot is that a lot of this stuff is actually just kind of cool anyway. Whether you're a coach or not, you can use it. And so you may or may not find any one of these useful. At least one of them is kind of a magic trick, which we'll do. That should be interesting. Not a real magic trick, but all right. So we already did this. The joke here is I got older, right? So blah blah. All right. So what are the five techniques? First, what is Agile? It's a hypothetical. Don't answer the question. I'll do that. A thing called the locked room, which sounds like some kind of a Pavlov thing on people gone wrong, bad science, right? It is actually. The first one is the magic trick. Something called the sustainable pace agreement, right? So in the Agile Manifesto, it talks about sustainable pace. What is that? It turns out it's not 36 hours per week, because I got to tell you, if you're working 36 hours a week for somebody that you don't like and is threatening to fire you, it's really not sustainable. A process agreement, people say they do Scrum, they don't mean it. So what do they actually mean? We'll go through that. And my last one, which is one of my favorite ones, Agile sounds really good. And so that's actually, there's a technique there that we're going to learn. Okay, so first, what is Agile? This is not a trick question. And if you don't agree, it's okay. I'll still love you. But within the context of a project that is doing software development, raise your hand if you believe that Agile is the right approach to take regardless of circumstances. We got one. He's my buddy, so he has to raise his hand. I don't know. We got 2. We got a I don't know. We got a 3. Oh, now you realize you're supposed to. Yeah, okay. We got 4. Okay, so we got 4 people. What did we agree on? $50? Was it? I think it's like 30, so it's like a total of 100. All right, so I got 4 people. All right. You're about to learn the instant conversion trick. All right? This is going to be I am going to instantly convert a whole bunch of you into Agile. You don't believe me, I can see, but I'm going to do it. It doesn't involve any trickery or hypnosis or anything, though you are probably feeling very sleepy about now. Right? So, what I'm going to have you do is each take one of these, one each, pass them out. There, I've self-organized you. Thank you. So what I want you to think about is I'm going to read 16 statements. Some of you can probably see where this is going, but I'm going to read 16 statements that have been slightly modified, not because I think there's anything wrong with the original statements, but just because it's convenient for this exercise. And I want you to divide the card. Nobody ever listens to me on this, but please try. Use the whole card, right this way, not that way. Oh, and if you need pens, there's lots of pens. Who needs a pen? All right, so write this way, not this way, and use the whole card just as it shows there. One card. Strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly. So 4 columns, 1 to 16. Okay. Now, strongly agree is special. Strongly agree means if you write strongly agree, you agree so strongly that you will do some of these things. For instance, somebody suggests that the daily stand-up is taking too long, so we're going to run the daily stand-up once a week. And you say, okay, that's great, but you know what? I'm going to be meeting in the cafeteria at 9 a.m. If anybody wants to join me, that's where I'll be. That's what strongly agree means. People say, you know what? I'm not going to give you extra time to write unit tests. We're not going to get into that argument, but I'm not going to give you extra time to write unit tests, and you do it anyway. That's what strongly agree means. Okay, so when you think of that, that column is this. Okay, I am going to go lickety-split through these. Please do not use your brain on this. Just strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree. But first, a little context. Some of these you might say, I've never seen it work. That would never work in my organization. That's not what we're talking about. Who here believes in democracy? This is a see if your arm goes up test, I hope.
Not enough information to answer.
There's always one. I love you. So, democracy, right? You go to some country that doesn't have it, doesn't believe in it. Do you stop believing in it? No. Right? You go to some country that doesn't have it, and somebody says to you, what is democracy? And you say, I don't really want to talk about it. No, you talk about it. So then they say, oh, I get it. I install voting machines, and they install voting machines. Who thinks democracy will ensue? No? You're not running for president, I can tell. Right? Anyway, no political jokes. So that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about beliefs, philosophy, your individual, in your heart beliefs. What do you believe? Not, do you think, will it work at your current company? Not, have you seen it work before, but do you believe it? Okay, so here we go. Process and tools, they're important. But individuals and interactions are more important. Do you strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree? Top of mind, just go. Number 2, you should build projects around motivated individuals, give them the environment and support they need, and trust them to get the job done. Do you believe that that's the way it should be? Not is it the way it is. Do you believe that that's the way it should be? The sponsors, development team, and users should work at a pace that they can sustain indefinitely. It does not mean you're going to be working the same hours every week. You might have some crunch time. You might, because there's a company crisis that isn't the same crisis every week. Right? So, but you think, you know what, this is a pace that makes sense. This is what I sign up for. Not just some architectures. This is a strong one. This says the best architectures will emerge and requirements and designs in conjunction with users. You can't just say, I believe the product should. No, you're going to talk to the users. And from the self-organizing team, do you agree that the best architectures, requirements, and designs will emerge from those self-organizing teams? Yes or no? Agree strongly or not? Okay, yeah, we're going to have sufficient documentation. Who wrote this code? You did. Oh. Well, that was a year ago. I wish I had written sufficient documentation. Sufficient documentation, yeah, that's important. But you know what? This says, if you agree, working software is more important. It's well documented, but it doesn't work. Right? So, what do you believe? Deliver working software frequently. Every couple of months is good. Every couple of weeks is better. Do you agree? Disagree?
That's 2 sentences, but were we agreeing to both of those?
Yeah. And. Yes, you should. I mean, whatever you want.
Well, is it the first sentence or the second sentence?
And. You're right. Okay. You know what? I'll have you go through them later. Oh, man.
Or and exclusive or.
Oh, clearly used to be a coder. Probably with like used NT or something, right?
Works on my machine.
Yeah. All right. So while there are multiple ways to measure progress, there's Gantt charts and there's project status meetings and PowerPoint and red, green, yellow, which actually is always green. I don't know why, but it's always green. While there are multiple ways to measure progress, working software is the primary measure of progress. Do you agree or not? Right? Do you agree that seeing 20 stories actually working out of 100 means I'm 20% through, or I'll take your word through it? I'll take your word for it. There are multiple ways to solve problems. This is not talking about taking shortcuts. There are multiple ways. One's more elaborate because it's taking into account all the things that might happen in the future and all the ways we might use this stuff. But we should focus on the simplest way to fully meet the current need and only do something more elaborate if that need emerges. Continuous attention to technical excellence and design enhances agility. Yeah, sometimes we have to have, I just did this in DC yesterday, so the contract negotiation was definitely important there. Anyway, so if you have a contract, negotiating it is often important, but customer collaboration is more important. Agree, disagree, strongly disagree. Final stretch here. This doesn't literally mean that the business person has to be there all the time. It just means that they have to be available all the time, right? So business people and development team must work together daily throughout the project. Now, I've got to rewrite this one because I get a lot of pushback from introverted developers that do not want to be face-to-face. I get that, right? Fine, you can email the person in the queue next to you or Instagram them or whatever the kids do these days. But all this is saying is that the most efficient way to communicate to somebody within the team or to the team is face-to-face. Maybe you need to send an email to record it. Sure, fine. We got lots of priorities. I want more people working for me. I want to be paid more money. I want to take vacation. Whatever. I want to implement some pet project. But the highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Maybe you've never seen it. This is just saying, do you believe it or not? All right? Final three. Last one is the most fun. Planning is important. But responding to change is more important. You know, we plan to go over that. We plan to go in that direction. Turns out there's a cliff there now, but hey, that's the plan. Planning is important, but responding to change is more important. At regular intervals, and that doesn't mean like once every year. At regular intervals, like every week or every other week or every month or something like that, not only should we reflect on how to become more effective, we should then actually tune and adjust, which is a euphemism for actually do something different, right? So maybe you've never seen it happen, not saying that, but do you agree that it should happen? Last and not least, the most misunderstood principle of all time, coming right up. It should be, read this, should be, easy and safe, should be. Do you believe that there's a button attached to your organization that if you push it, bad things should not happen and you ship the software? Do you believe it should be that way? Do you believe it should be easy and safe? I'm not saying it ever happened or that you can do it today. I'm not saying that. Do you believe it should be easy and safe the day before release to say, oh, look, it's 9 a.m. We have a day's worth of work to do for this story, but there's this new story that has more value, and we should do that instead. Do you believe that or not?
Is it completable in a day?
If it's completable in a day. If you have a story that's completable in a day, and you haven't started at 9 a.m., should I be able to swap stories and say, you know what, that's awesome? Should I be able to? Clearly, if you're doing manual testing, it's not going to be happening.
Are we sure we can do it in a day? What percent certainty do we have?
By
We can do it
definition.
in a day.
By definition.
100%.
By definition. Just as much certainty as you had the story that you didn't start at 9 a.m., which is also uncertain.
Well, isn't that a fundamental problem?
Well, okay, let me try this. I'm going to make this so you almost can't answer it no. It's 9 a.m. You've got a user story that you haven't started. Who here would guarantee that it's going to be implemented in 1 day without knowing anything else? Nobody. We don't know. You can't guarantee. Now I have another story. You have the same level of confidence that it can be completable in 1 day. And you look at it and you go, oh my God, that has so much more value. Which one do you believe you should do? The one with more value is what this is saying. Even the day before release. You didn't start the other one, you were going to. Okay. Do not put your name on it. Let's make it anonymous. Turn it over. Pass it to the front. Let's see how we did. It's not a test, and if you have disagrees on there, it's okay. You're not a bad person. I should have said earlier, I mentally went back to 2005 and did this for myself, and I was a lot over on the disagree side. When I first was introduced to Agile, I thought it was stupid and bad and evil. So,
I remember.
And that's when I met Dan, and it all turned around.
I drank the Kool-Aid.
All right. Now, if you did not have any disagrees or strongly disagrees, raise your hand. And that, my friends, is my instant conversion trick. You were already Agile, you just didn't know it. This came about because people would often ask me, where can I do Agile? And I would say, well, where you want to deliver value. And I think often when we think about Agile, we think about Scrum. Where can I do Scrum? Right? That's a whole different discussion. But this that we just did, that's all there is to Agile. There isn't anything else. It's just this. Now the question is, how do you implement it? Scrum, Kanban, and other things, those are tools to enable you, just like voting machines, to do the things you believe in. All right, let's see how we did. 3 disagrees. I think we have an Agilist there. Awesome. Really not like an Agile. Okay, that's fine. We got an Agilist. We got, we almost have an activist here. All right, so if you're all strongly agree, you're pretty much an activist. Only one agree, everything else strongly agree, pretty much an activist. So you can look through these later if you'd like to, but there's only a few disagrees. And what I have found is that this tool, which you can use, you can have the slides, right? This is a great tool as a conversation starter. Have somebody do it, see where they disagree, and talk about it. Well, why? Well, that'll never work with manual testing. Yeah, I get that, but maybe that's why we should do automated testing. Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. All right, next technique. Here we go. Yep, I'm going to do that, thanks. Yeah. So, from the manifesto and the principles, we got the community, including Dan, and there's other coaches here. I think a couple of people, Pat is here, right? We got Richard. We got a whole bunch of folks that are in the Agile community. You can be part of the Agile community today now that you raise your hand, so congratulations. And from the community, we get these tools that we can use. But they are just tools. Without the beliefs, they don't matter. Okay, the locked room. So now what I want you to do is I'm self-organizing you. You need to organize into groups of, say, 5 or 6, and make sure you're not all of the same ilk. So if you're all project managers, move around. If you're all developers, move around. So see if you can get like a couple of developers, a couple of QA folks, a couple of VAs, a couple of project managers, a couple of managers, folks of different ilk in 5 or 6 person teams, and then we'll keep going. So self-organize yourselves. You can have a scribe, you can not have a scribe, whatever. I'm going to give you like 5 or 6 minutes for this exercise. See how where the excitement level is. But at the end, I'm going to go around and ask each group for one of the things that we're going to come up with. So what I want you to do now is you're going to imagine yourself locked in a room with your teammates for 2 weeks. All right. Now it's a thought experiment. What is that? Gedunken? What a thought experiment? Yeah, a thought experiment. I do not recommend that you actually do this. People will quit. Okay. So we're gonna take away the things like worrying about cots and facilities and all that kind of stuff. But if you want Xbox or PlayStation in there with you, or pinball machine or ping pong or whatever, fine, you can bring that in. That's all right. So it's just a thought experiment. Though I will point out that when I first started doing this, I did it as part of one engagement, and I came back after a month and they said, we did that. And I said, you did that? And they said, yeah. We had this problem that the organization, large organization, had been working on for years and couldn't crack. They took people, put them in a room, conference room, for 2 weeks, told them that's all they had to work on, and you know what they did? They cracked it in 2 weeks. So where this comes from is Scrum is actually incredibly misunderstood. How many folks work on multiple projects simultaneously? Yeah, okay. So, it depends on which role you're in and all that kind of stuff, but Scrum says, Scrum is not an overlay. Scrum is not doing what you used to do, but now do more stuff. It replaces what you used to do. And one of the things it says is not that you go to all the stand-ups you're involved in the projects of, it's that you as a person go to one. One. Scrum is very, very misunderstood. So, as a thought experiment to see what Scrum is really saying, we have the locked room. Scrum is like a locked room where you and your friends are going to be locked in the Scrum room. This really sounds appealing, doesn't it? I want to do Scrum now. But it's a thought experiment. You're going to be locked in there. But before you go in, you don't have to go in until you feel like all of the work for this iteration meets your agreed upon definition of ready. Now, a definition of ready that I've seen is often the product manager waves his hand like this and gives you a slide. Do you feel like you're ready? I would not. So think about what would you want to be true of that work for it to be considered ready? For instance, a well-described user story, acceptance criteria. It's small. Whatever your definition of ready is, you don't have to walk in there for the 2 weeks. Now, you're probably thinking, hey, I got this figured out. I don't have to walk in there. Yeah, but you know what? Not only do you get locked in there, here's the motivation to get in there. You don't get paid until it's all done. Now you don't want to work for me, I get that, but it's a thought experiment. So now you walk in there, nobody walks out, the door does not unlock until all of the work is done to the definition of done. And when it is, bing, the door opens and you all get paid. Yay. You with me so far? Now, it really locks, which means not only can you not come out, nobody can go in and bother you. Yay. All right, so that's the thought experiment. Now, the exercise is imagine you're in there with your soon-to-be friends. Hopefully everybody comes out. And how would it change your behavior if you're in that environment? How would it change your behavior? All right, think about that. You don't get out until all the work is done. You don't get paid. How would your behavior change? All right, 5 minutes, go.
How would I know? How would I know? I don't know. I would be very worried about it. Feeling like it had to be perfect.
Okay, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. So, hands up. I heard some great discussion. It seems like you guys can keep going. It's not even real, and you're getting really into it, so that's fantastic. So part of the idea here with this thought experiment is not just because it's a cool, fun thought experiment, it's that you could do it even without being locked in a room, right? So what are some of the things you could do without even being locked in a room? Give me one.
My suggestion was to come up with a working agreement as to how we're going to organize our affairs and treat one another and get the work done. So a working agreement, I think, would help us establish
Awesome.
how we're going to organize our activities.
A working agreement. What are the rules of the game? What are the house rules? Now, did everybody agree to the house rules that you just came up with?
I think I got a lot of nods, yes.
You self-organized, everybody? Awesome. All right, how about this team? One thing that you guys would do.
We had two buttons, the red button and the green button. The red button was if you had a problem,
Okay.
an impediment, an infrastructure problem, whatever it was.
What happens when you press it?
Everybody swarms to help figure out what to do.
Somebody from outside,
I think it comes out of the wall.
if there's a blocking issue that we can't resolve, let's say.
Okay.
Something with.
So an alarm goes on outside the room.
Yeah.
Okay, and the green button?
The green button said someone's got a fabulous idea we haven't talked about before to do things differently.
Okay, awesome. So in either case, you get somebody's attention. All right. Green, red buttons. How about you guys? What's one?
So that our behavior would change to a much more collaborative and teamwork.
Forced collaboration.
Sharing ideas and sharing work.
Now, so I kind of forced you into the room. So I guess part of the idea here is if you think collaboration is going to help to get you the heck out of the room, then why wouldn't we just collaborate, right, in a normal situation? Now, part of the reason is if we're working on multiple projects or whatever, it's hard, right? You don't get to know the people, and they go away, whatever, right? But part of what hopefully comes out of Scrum is collaboration. All right, how about you guys?
Well, we were kind of a little more philosophical.
I love it.
And basically, what we came down with, we become a team after being, by hook or by crook, after
It's a
being
beautiful thing.
locked in for 2 weeks. We have some rules defined, we have some rules of engagement, but ultimately we become a team.
Ultimately, we become a team. Okay, you guys have ascended or something over there, transcended. All right, how about you guys? What's one from your group?
We would lock the product owner in the room with us.
Yeah, but we're giving the product owner video games to play until we interrupt them with questions.
Red button. We got the product owner in the room with us.
I personally, liking both product ownership and video games, I think we can figure this out.
We said the product owner would bring a book.
Bring a book, okay. I think that those ideas need a little bit more work, just saying, not trying to judge there or anything, but just saying. All right, how about you guys?
One thing was that we get really focused.
Get really focused, right? Absolutely. How about you guys in the back there? Hello.
One of the things we talked about was not gold plating our work, not doing more than we needed to do, and the corollary would be not doing less than we needed to do.
We do. What is that? Goldilocks. Just right. We do our work just right. Excellent. Yeah, it's weird that would come out. We should do things just right. But yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we could keep going around, but that's the basic idea, right? So every organization is different, so you can run this activity and figure out what comes out. And then when people say, oh, well, we can't do that here and whatever, see Technique 5. All right, so next up. Sustainable pace agreement. So some of you have clearly heard of working agreements, right? A lot of the things in Agile, whether it's Scrum or Kanban, is all about rules. I don't know about you, but I love rules. Rules, rules, rules. Yes, you do. You do too. Don't you just love the red means stop rule? I really like it. It saved my life many times. And the try to stay within 12 miles an hour of the speed limit, I love that one too. It's not an official rule, but it seems to work for me.
When you say rules, are you talking about for yourself or for others?
Am I talking about for myself or others? Mostly I like them for others, but also for me. Because you know what? They protect me. Right? If I say, you know what? Red lights are for you, I'm going to get in trouble. Right? So I love rules. The problem with traditional development is there aren't any. There aren't any. Don't fool yourself. There aren't any. You tell me what they are. Have you ever figured them out? Because I haven't. They're hidden in people's heads, and you find out when you get let go or you get in trouble.
Tell them what they want to hear.
Tell them what they want to hear. That's a good rule. Yeah.
That's what they want. So it's a rule.
Cover a CYA. He said something else, but I heard CYA. Right? So one of the wonderful things about Agile is rules that we all agree to, that are simple, that we as humans can follow. So another one, sustainable pace agreement. So an interesting thing, I was doing a lovely, fantastic, energizing talk on oppression in software, because if you think about it, actually there is a lot of oppression. I can tell you some stories about that. The one slide that I still use from that, because it actually was so depressing, is this one. Right, so Agile processes promote sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. Just one problem, it doesn't say how many hours in there. I don't know what this means. Do you know what this means? I don't know what it means. What in the world does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. So, here's the exercise. I don't think I'm actually going to give you 15 minutes. I'll give you more cards. But, and don't start yet. But I want you to think about what would be something in maybe an employee agreement that both you sign and your employer signs that you work to, that they could be comfortable with and that you could be comfortable with. Right? So one example that people have come up with in the past is no more than 2 crunch time iterations in a row. So as evil manager, I said, oh, guess what? That means 1 nice one and 2 bad ones. 1 nice one and 2 bad ones. Right? So you got to be careful, right? People can be tricky. So how would you write down some rules that you think would be good both for you and the organization that would be a sustainable pace agreement? How would you define sustainable pace? All right, here we go. Oh, and let's work in teams again. Work in teams, sorry.
I don't think it's that complicated. I think it's...
Okay, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. Hands up. Hands up. All right. Now, I noticed that you guys are a very talkative, energetic group, which is fantastic. And I've interrupted you and I feel bad. But I should, okay, thanks. But the thing is, it's not so much that you solve the problem here, it's just to learn the technique, right? To see, wow, we talked about sustainable pace and look how much we had to say, right? So I believe that will also apply in your organization. It seems like a good conversation that I don't remember ever having had in my past life, right? So great idea, I think. Oh yeah, well anyway, but forget about that. So what did you guys come up with? What's one thing that you guys came up with?
If the team is able to maintain an average velocity across sprints, then we've found a sustainable pace.
Oh, wow, that's unique. I haven't heard that one before. That's great. So,
Way to go.
So think about like story points per card.
Yep.
And you've got weaker
Absolutely.
members, stronger members across sprints. If they're hitting a certain velocity, we're good.
Yep. Over, say, 3 iterations, we maintain an average, so I guess there's some base level there, velocity, then we have hit a sustainable pace. So they're not really defining it, they're going to go find it, right? Interesting. Excellent. All right, how about you guys? What's one thing that you guys came up with?
We came up with that, for pace to be sustainable, we need to have agreement with the product owner that in case there is scope creep that happens because the user story was not defined and it is expanding, then the team can propose things that can drop off.
Okay,
that
so
makes it
great.
sustainable.
So we're talking about what's going to happen when. So clearly the product owner has been the source of some agitation in some places. That's what I'm hearing. So if
there's
scope creep,
because of
which
the
is actually a mislabeling of a good thing, but we'll get back to that in a second. If there's scope creep, we have to talk to the product owner about things we're going to drop, right? So a lot of these, that's a good example of an age-old struggle. Let's stop having that struggle. Let's get it written down. What are we going to do in this circumstance? Scope creep, I can't leave it alone, pet peeve. What is scope creep? Sounds like a bad thing, right? I'm going to say it a couple times. Scope creep, scope creep, scope creep. Sounds bad, right? Oh, hang on. So, scope creep is actually a good thing. We've mislabeled it. What is scope creep? I've just discovered something I didn't know before. Probably I want it in there because it has value. Oh, look, I found gold. Let me hide it. Right, so how do we solve that problem is a different thing, but scope...
A little bit more to it than that. It's I found something new, and I'm required to do all the other stuff that was in the list as well.
Well, okay, right, so we're going to hide it because we don't want to have to do it all, and we don't have
We
the
don't
out.
hide it, we discuss and prioritize and we drop some things off.
Absolutely, in your wonderful world, right? but in which case it's not scope creep, right? But in the past, we've said the word scope creep because it's bad. Right, it's the making it bigger that's bad.
Or the discovery of technical, we'll call it some technical debt that needs to be paid.
Clearly, it's a sore spot for us all. Okay, so how about you guys? What was something you came up with?
We talked a little bit about work-life balance.
Work-life balance, okay.
French meals, time to exercise.
Did you say French meals?
French meals, yes.
Are you French? Yeah. That's fine, I like French meals too. Just 10 minutes. Okay, absolutely. So then, I love that. I do want to point out one thing there that I think it's important to look for things that are measurable. So what would be a balanced work-life schedule then, right? Okay, how about you guys?
It said that a sprint will only ever contain what the team is willing to commit to.
So, say that again.
That the sprint will only ever contain what the team is willing to commit to.
The sprint will only ever contain what the team is willing to commit to. Now, it's interesting that you should say that, because I'm pretty sure that is in the definition of Scrum. So,
not anymore.
What's that?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Oh, so to shove as much in there as you want?
No, it's what the team estimates that they can do. It's not a commitment.
Oh, right. Forecast, absolutely. I agree. I guess the point I was getting on there is that it should be the team that agrees, not some external person, right? Absolutely. So putting it in a sustainable pace agreement as reinforcement, excellent idea. Okay, how about you guys?
I think that one of the things we talked about was, again, getting to know each other as a team to figure out what sustainable pace means to each of us as individuals, and then see where the common ground is, see where we can cover for each other, and what comes out of that.
I sense a gelling. Something happened over here with these folks. They've already gelled into a team. Yeah, I don't know. What did you guys have before?
Same thing you did.
Oh, really? Oh, maybe it'll happen for me too soon. How about you guys?
I said if you find that people are putting in a little more time than is required, just because they're interested and motivated to do so, then they're probably working at a sustainable pace.
Oh, that's interesting. So another sort of like an indicator of is the pace sustainable? If people are working on something in their spare time because they enjoy it, they're probably working at a sustainable pace. And I don't think I repeated what you said, which is we need to get to know the team so that we understand what is a sustainable pace for all of us. And that reminds me of something somebody said once, which is, okay, so we have a college intern on our team that just wants to work all the time, and he's making us all look bad. Right, so there's a discussion there. There's a discussion there about how do we deal with that, right? Not tell him to stop working necessarily, but have an agreement. Okay, how about you guys in the back?
We didn't get around to a kind of specifics other than.
You didn't get to anything specific, okay?
What the other
Sorry,
groups-
didn't mean to overwork you.
No, what the
Sorry.
other groups, I kind of came to the same conclusion as some of the other groups, that is that sustainability is kind of a thing that the team can only judge. It can't be.
Only the team can judge, that's right. Yep. One of the things that I talk to the leaders about there is, if a team comes up with a sustainable pace that you don't like, have a conversation, right? Because one of the things, you're going to be thinking about is, are you saying that these are people that have no work ethic? Because if so, well, you probably got the wrong people, right? So that's a different discussion. Okay, cool. So you can use this technique. So process agreement, we got 2 to go here. Process agreement, I think we're going to make this kind of short. We won't go through the whole thing here because I want to get to the last one. But the idea of a process agreement is people say, I'm doing Scrum. How many people believe that when they hear I'm doing Scrum, that that person is doing Scrum? Yeah, no, okay. You believe, whenever anybody says to you, I'm doing Scrum, you believe them?
When someone tells me what they believe, I believe them until they prove otherwise.
Ah, okay. You're a very trusting soul. So I have found that on further examination, most people that say they're doing Scrum are not doing Scrum. Right? They're like, okay, yeah, we have 2 product owners on this team, and people go to 3 stand-ups and all that kind of stuff. Right? So the thought is, you go to 3 stand-ups, excellent. So the thought is, just write down what you're doing. Right? So that's what I want you to do. Imagine that you guys are working together as a team now. You're starting a company. Forget about Scrum. What are you actually going to do? Right? So just take a look at this list as an idea and write down, what are we going to do? How are we going to do our work? Don't use the word Scrum. What are we going to do? Okay? Go. So mini retrospective, next time 4 techniques. Anyway, so the idea here is not so much that you complete this exercise, really, it's just showing the technique. Right, so think of the discussion you guys just had. I heard one person say there's not a single thing up there that I wouldn't do, right? But now you've had the discussion, right? Or you bring somebody in, a leader or something, a senior executive, and you say, and he says, "Are you guys doing Scrum?" And you say, "Yeah, we're doing all these things." Do you have a problem with any of these? Well, yeah, I got a problem with these 10. Okay, then we're not doing those 10. Great, and we're doing these things. So you're doing Scrum? Well, no, you said we couldn't do those 10 things, right? So it's a great way to have the conversation. Now, I'm not suggesting you should stay there forever and anything's okay, because if you want the benefits of Scrum, you have to actually do Scrum, right? Like, if you want the benefits of coast-to-coast travel, can you do without the landing gear? No. Well, you can. Wouldn't recommend it. Okay. Agile sounds good, but I've had all these conversations where people have said, "Hey, Damon, seem like a nice guy. Love that joke. Agile sounds good, but we've got people spread across time zones, blah, 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 blah." Right? So, what I want you to do now is take one card, and I want you to think about one thing in your current organization that makes it really hard to be more agile. Something that is like poured in concrete in your organization. You're thinking, good luck getting rid of that, Damon. That thing is going to prevent you from being any more agile, even starting. What is it? One thing on one card. Boom. Next card. One more card. One more card. Something that is in the way of being more agile that you personally could probably influence. If there isn't anything, what's the simplest one that you could push against futilely? All right? One thing that you think in your organization that you personally could change to become more agile. And if there isn't anything at all, what's the thing that you could push on and it might move the most? What's the simplest thing that you could possibly change? Okay? All right. So here's the trick. Scrum has nothing to do with stand-ups and retrospectives. That stuff is freaking easy. The thing that's hard is the thing that you wrote down. There's lots of those. Those things, when we look at them, we think that's set in concrete. That's the way it is. BS. That is the work of going Agile. All those things that are impediments, write them on a card, put them in a backlog, and go to it. That is your work. That's how you go Agile. And Scrum is a good way to do that, right? Backlogs, Scrum Master, Product Owner, User Stories, Time Boxes. This is your Agile transformation project. Because you know what? Going Agile doesn't do anything. It's making changes that does things. Making changes. Okay, so now I want you to hold up that card that has the easier thing on it, and you have to hold it in a specific way. I want you to hold it just like this, very specific. Hold it like this, not at the bottom, that's cheating. Over the top. Now with your other hand, put your fingers here. 1, 2, 3, rip it! That is you making a change. Because you know, the only way your organization is going to go Agile is if you do it. Right? Because we all individually have to make the changes. You know what? It's not he has to change and he has to change and she has to change, it's we have to change. Right? So that's how you do it. All right, that is my talk. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.